Hey everybody, Forbidden Exile here, and welcome to a new video. So as I said in my last video for the Occultist version of Cast on Crit Forbidden Rite, I wanted to make a updated version of the Pathfinder version of Cast on Crit Forbidden Rite, and as you saw in the little intro clip, it is definitely still tanky. That was a T16 cemetery map, you know, not super crazy rolls, but you can just stand there. That was from an expedition. Everything was chaos and weather resistant, and I forgot to check all of them, so I couldn't kill anything, but it was just a nice example of how tanky the build actually is. I stood there for probably like 2 or 3 minutes and didn't press anything, and as you saw, the energy shield regen, mainly from the Aegis, recovering energy shield when you block, and just the tankiness of the build is pretty insane. So as usual, we'll go over the gear, the gems, the skill tree, and then we'll head over to Path of Building. Alright, so for the gear, I did turn the sound effects off because the flask going off is super annoying, but for the gear, Gemini Claw, I made a video on how to craft this, so I'll put that up there. It's pretty straightforward. It's the same way that you would craft the dagger. The gist of it: fracture global crit, strike multiplier, spam zeal essences until you get T1 crit chance. You can either ashling or just do a veiled chaos orb, craft percent fizz, and then hope to unveil spell damage, or chaos damage, one of those two. The fire damage does nothing, but just make sure you have an open prefix so you can craft hits can't be evaded, so you don't have to worry about any accuracy. The main reason that you want this is for the mana per enemy hit, so that's why you need a Gemini Claw. Obviously the life per hit doesn't really matter. It's a regular old Crown of the Inward Eye for the helm. For the shield, Aegis Aurora, that's where a lot of the tankiness comes from, as I said in the beginning. Recover energy shield equal to 2% of your armor when you block. You're block capped for spell and attack, so you know you recover 2% every single time you block, and you're blocking a lot. For the body armor, I just went full energy shield on this. You could go hybrid energy shield armor to get more physical damage reduction to get higher armor, but Forbidden Rite deals damage based on the amount of energy shield that you had, so I tried to get over 4,000, which as you can see I got 4,080. It's pretty simple, just deafening essences of woe, which is the same thing I use for the body armor, the boots, and the gloves, to get flat energy shield, and I just spammed it until I got pretty lucky with some decent other energy shield prefixes and some res on there as well. And then determination, increased aura effect. You could use discipline if you want, and then increased effect of non-curse auras. The gloves, as I said, deafening essences of woe to get energy shield. I spammed them until I bought a fractured dexterity pair because I do need dexterity and strength, which sucks, but yeah, deafening essence of woe until you get as high of energy shield as you want to get bored of clicking, I guess. And then the attack speed for this version, based on the other attack speed that I have on the tree and on the gear, has to be 10% crafted, or you could get fractured, I guess. We'll go over that when we go to the Path of Building for the actual cast on crit to get the most amount of damage. For the belt, Hunter Influence Stygian Visors are super cheap. They're like a divine or two. If you can't find one, if you're trying to buy one and you have a high level Stygian Vise, just buy a Hunter Exalted Orb and slam it on there. It's the same effect. And then hope you get, you know, the Hunter increased chaos damage. That's why you do that. And then you can reforge chaos and get it that way. That's pretty much the easiest way to do it. That's what I did, and just try to get it, get some res on there. If you have an empty suffix, you know, do flasturation or something like that, or an extra, or craft an extra resistance, whatever you prefer. The boots, definite essences of woe again. I got hybrid energy shield as well. Crafted movement speed, because I can't reforge. I could ashling, I guess, but I don't really want to. Well, I can't on these because I don't have an empty suffix. Dude, prefixes cannot be changed. But yeah, definitions of woe until I got intelligence and some res on there. I don't need the stun and block recovery because I'm stun immune. And then I guess the block recovery kind of helps you block faster a little bit, but you don't want onslaught. You're already ailment immune, so you don't need to worry about cannot be frozen. You are always getting hit, so unless you're, I don't know, it helps you move around when you're running from place to place, I guess. So for the amulet, double +1, the type of amulet, you know, you could get one that has strength and dexterity on it if you want. This was the best one that I found that had fractured +1 level of all chaos skill gems. The way that I crafted this is I just alt spammed it until I got +1, regaled, and then just double exalt slammed. I got pretty lucky, you know, flat T1, all attributes, and then some intelligence. The life per enemy hit doesn't matter, obviously. And then craft non-channeling skills and the fertile catalyst to get it up to -8. Because right now I think I'm at 9 mana with my flasks up and everything to cast Forbidden Rite. The rings are really just res and stats and a little bit of chaos damage because it's an Iolite ring. No, it's not great whatsoever. The lightning damage doesn't matter. Mana regeneration doesn't really matter. The flat mana helps a little bit. I got about 100 mana left. But yeah, res and strength for this one. Just strength and then attack speed. So for this one I have 7% attack speed, which gives, and then 10% attack speed on this one, which, as I said, I'll go over once we get to Path of Building, because the attack speed on your build, in case you're not aware of how Cast on Crit Forbidden Rite works, or Cast on Crit in general, your attack speed makes a huge difference in your damage. And then for both rings, obviously, craft on non-channeling skills have negative mana cost. I could put some Fertile Catalyst on here as well and get an extra 2 reduced mana cost if I would like, but I don't really feel like it. It's fine. For the Flask Dying Sun, this is pretty mandatory. Those 2 additional projectiles give you like 4 million damage. That's pretty crazy. Other than that, you know, you take reduced fire damage. Double crit Diamond Flask, or a crit suffix Diamond Flask. Try to get as high of a roll as you can. T1 is what I got, and then T1 increased duration. For the Quicksilver Flask, gain a flash charge when you deal a critical strike. You could technically get that one on all of these if you want, or gain a flash charge when you're hit, and then craft the reduced mana cost in there. You get that by unveiling Cinder Swallows. Just buy some veiled ones and unveil a couple of them and you'll get it. Basalt Flask for more % armor, and then I did the increased effect and chance to avoid being stunned so that I'm stun immune. You do have to take 1 point on the tree to get stun immune, and then a Granite Flask with charge recovery and then T2 armor. I could get a T1, but this one works fine. For the Jewel and the Stygian Vise, the enemies withered by you have -2 resistances. Definitely does help. They're super cheap, just that mod alone, and then, you know, try to get that one and maybe, you know, fill up some stats or some res. I needed the fire res, I think, for this one. The rest of the stats don't really matter. I guess the mana helps a little bit. All right, so for the gems, it's pretty standard. I did change some things on here, but Withering Step on the spacebar or whatever button you prefer, I would not have it on your left click because it does disable your travel skills. I'm going to try and Frost Blink, because you can Frost Blink while you're cycloning and it doesn't stop you, as opposed to Flame Dash, which will stop you to Flame Dash and then you start cycloning again, which stops you from leeching energy shield, so you could die. Mark on hit, link to Assassin's Mark. I'll show you in the Path of Building, but I've seen some people use Sniper's Mark, and you can get to 100% crit chance without using Assassin's Mark, but it's really hard to gain power charges, and you need all of your power charges on top of the base crit to get to 100% crit chance. So I use Assassin's Mark. Up here, so I just got Culling Strike linked to Vengeance. So Vengeance procs when you do a swift counterattack against all enemies around you when you're hit, and then 50% chance to trigger it when you're hit. So you know, it procs pretty quickly, pretty often, and then that culls. Over here, level 3 Enlighten, linked to Zealotry for more crit chance, and then Tempest Shield, for our ailment immune. I had some people in the last video talk about the 30% shock chance. You don't really need to calculate the shock chance, honestly. I took it out of the Path of Building on this one, and I think it dropped the DPS by like 100,000 or something like that. It is really just for the chance to block spell damage. Because of the increased effect of non-curse auras that you have on the skill tree and on the body armor, that 26 actually ends up being like 80-something% or something like that. Because plus on the tree you get double of your spell damage, or block chance. For Cast on Crit Forbidden Rite itself, this is a 2020 Cyclone, level 5 Cast on Crit. You can get lower than this because you don't need 52% cooldown recovery. But level 5, 20 is fine. We can Void Manipulation just for the more chaos damage, increased chaos damage, and then +1 to Forbidden Rite gem. So my Forbidden Rite gem is technically at 25 right now. I have a 21-20, and then just increase critical strikes and critical damage to get more critical strike chance, and then more crit multi. For the auras, Determination, linked to a level 4 Enlighten. I checked and these are super expensive on in League right now for some reason, so you might be able to try and rework some stuff, maybe, and get away with a level 3, but I don't think so. 2020 Val Discipline. I have it right here on D because it is basically the only way that you can instantly regenerate energy shield. So if you just spin it around and you see your energy shield start to drop from like bleeding or something like that, hit that. If you're bleeding, I have had a lot of people ask me about how do you prevent bleeding. I just honestly stop moving and just, you gotta kind of work your mouse and you'll get used to it to where you can still spin, you just don't technically move. And then Period of Elements, as I said. Over here, so we got Frostblink. As I said, I've been trying that between Flame Dash. I think Frostblink's nice, except for it only has one charge, so if you hit Withering Step, your Frostblink doesn't work. And then manually casting Despair, and then Molten Shell on the left click, and then Val Molten Shell over here. Alright, so for the skill tree, obviously we're a Pathfinder. I work way up here, take Charisma. Finale way up here, as I said, you got to take one of these chance to avoid being stunned nodes, so you can get 100% chance to avoid being stunned. Up here, take the Flask charges. Chance to gain a Flask charge when deal critical strike, so that helps your Flask regen. And then you want a large cluster jewel with spell damage with Mage Hunter. The other nodes don't really matter. Essence Rush is really nice because the attack and cast speed, well, the attack speed when you're leeching Energy Shield, and then you get more damage when you're leeching. Obviously, you want to be leeching Energy Shield. So I would try to go with that one because of the attack speed to get you to the certain attacks per second. You are going to have to run, if you're trying to copy this build exactly as I have it, you will have to run one of the increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, small cluster jewels. Try and get one with increased effect if you want, but you need the Zealotry or the Determination one to basically run all of the auras. Come up here, take this additional power charge. Come down here, plus 3 to level of all critical support gems. So that gets your Awaken Cast on Crit additional 3 levels. You have to take these obviously to get to it. Your Chaos Inoculation, which is why I only have 1 life. Influence, just mana reservation, increased damage for each aura. Since you have 5 auras, that's additional 40% damage. Whispers of Doom, so that you can do Assassin's Mark and Despair. And then up here, you're going to want to try to get Touch of Cruelty, Unholy Grace, or Wicked Paw, depending on what you get with the other one and your attack speed. As I said before, it's going to be a lot of playing around with like putting stuff in Path of Building to see if you get to 7.54 attacks per second on your Cyclone. So that one's kind of the tricky part of this build. But Touch of Cruelty hinders enemies, and then so it slows them down, and then they also take more damage. And then Wicked Paw is just increased damage and skill effect duration. Now for this jewel up here, just Corrupted Blood and some res on there. I don't need the block, chance to block on there, but I did need the res. And Corrupted Blood, you do need some way to stop Corrupted Blood, and you don't use a life flask, so it's pretty much the only way you should do it. So for the Watcher's Eye, the 2 mods at the top are pretty gnarly to get them together. Price-wise, I'm not running Precision on this build. I do it on the Occultist version to help with flash charge gains, obviously really just for the Dying Sun because I use Mageblood. But you do have to have the Discipline mod to gain 28 Energy Shield. It goes up to 30, but I just rolled it to 28. And otherwise, that's like your instant leech of Energy Shield on top of additional leech with, you know, Essence Rush or something like that. But that one is mandatory, I will say, and it's not very expensive. Take the leech node, spell damage, leeches Energy Shield, instant leech. Over here for the Militant Faith, Timeless Jewel, you need High Templar Dominus. Try to get one that has channeling skills or reduce mana cost of skills per 10 devotion to try and lower your mana cost as much as possible. The only reason that you take that is to turn this one into Inner Conviction. It'll turn this one into Inner Conviction as well. But obviously pathing wise, you want to take this one. So you get more spell damage per power charge, and then you don't gain frenzy charges, which won't screw up your attack speed. Come down here, take the mana reservation wheel right here. Obviously minimum power charges, another chance to gain a power charge on kill, and then some more increased damage per power charge. Take this whole chaos cluster here, and then an additional level of chaos skill gems. Your chaos inoculation, so you don't have to worry about the second part where you lose energy shield when you use a chaos skill. Chance to block attack damage per 5% chance to block on equipped shields. You do need to take this one, plus all of these right here for energy shield, and then 8% chance to block spell damage. On here, just more crit chance, or more crit multi, crit chance, crit multi, and then crit multi against unique enemies. Is your 100% crit chance on Cyclone and on Forbidden Rite, so you know, there's more crit multiplier that you have, the more damage that you do. Take Sovereignty, this whole wheel right here, to get more mana reservation, and then increased effective auras. Down here, you're going to want a large Thread of Hope. Large, not medium, not very large. and then try to get one that has the best roll of the all res, because you're already kind of fighting to get above res on here. It goes from -10 to -20, so try to get as close to -10 as you can. The reason that you take that is to get glancing blows. So like I said, your chance to block attack and spell damage is doubled with this. You take 65% of the damage from blocked hits. But as you saw in the beginning, that's literally was just me blocking and recovering energy shield, not attacking, not leeching, or anything like that. And then over here, Divine Shield, physical damage prevented from hits recently is regenerated as energy shield per second. That one's super helpful as well. And then take this extra max power charge over here. This is free 10% physical damage reduction, so I don't know why you wouldn't take this, because you can't take chaos damage. And then increased armor, increased res, increased energy shield, increased armor, increased energy shield. The character's actually only 94 right now, so what I would probably do instead of taking more points on the cluster duels, if you take these 3 nodes right here, because you can, because of the Thread of Hope, it will increase your armor and energy shield significantly once you get all 3 of them. Alright, so as far as the Ascendancies go, it's pretty standard Pathfinder, using Flasks to get flash charges and stuff like that, but it's chaos, so you want withered, chaos damage. Take Nature's Adrenaline for flash charges every 3 seconds. Take this one, come here, Nature's Boon for increased effect, and then Flask effect charges gain. If you can get your resistances up to 75% without using Period of Elements, I would say drop this one and then take this, because you're always, as you can see, if you've been paying attention down here, you're always going to be using a flask, so that would technically remove all the elemental ailments every time one of these flasks go off. I can't do that because I want more energy shield. I could probably try to recraft some of the suffixes since all the energy shield mods are prefixes, but it works just fine. All right, so for path of building, as you can see here, we're at 7.54 effective trigger rate, which is also linked to the 7.59 attack rate on Cyclone. As long as you can get it under 7.6 or above 7.54, somewhere in that range, then you should be fine. It doesn't have to be exact to the T. If you can, then that's great, but it's super hard to do with 1% at a time. 100% crit chance on Forbidden Rite. Crit chance, hit chance is obviously 100% because hits can't be evaded on Cyclone. Right, hit chance 100%. 7.4 million DPS with all primary projectiles, that is with Dying Sun up. As you can see here, we'll turn that off for a second. It's like 4 million DPS just from the 2 additional projectiles. Pretty crazy. This is without Molten Shell. Molten Shell's on the left click, so it is up pretty frequently. As you saw in the beginning though, I wasn't pressing anything and Molten Shell would proc, and even when it was down, I was still blocking enough to recover all of my energy shield. With just Molten Shell up, 124,000 effective hit pool. Not terrible. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. 53,000 armor with the Flasks up, 84% physical damage reduction, and max block chance. I got a 3% to spare on there. If you do import this, it will default to having Vol Discipline and Vol Molten Shell on. You just want to make sure if you look at your energy shield like in game and then you're looking at it in Path of Building and it's not correct, that's because Vol Discipline's checked and not actual discipline. Same with Molten Shell. As far as the configuration goes, I haven't really said these, but just take all the bandits using power charges. You do have Tailwind, your Leeching Energy Shield, and your Flasks are active. That one doesn't actually matter because they're checked in the items. Withers actually should be able to get to 15 on a boss if you're, hitting Wither and Step around it, plus the Ascendancy from Pathfinder. Enemies are unnerved from your gloves. So yeah, that's it. If I did miss anything or have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, as some of you always do. I always appreciate the comments, criticisms, whatever it might be. I love talking about this game. I love this game, and this is still by far one of my favorite builds in the game. I have been messing around with Bone Shatter, jumping on the Bone Zone train. Super fun build. First time I ever played a melee build, so I will probably put out a build guide on that probably in like the next week or so. I don't know. Life gets in the way. So if you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, and if you are enjoying the content, please consider subscribing because it really does help me out.